All right, Shane, moving on down to the SEC West. We had a really big game here, I think, for both these teams. LSU goes on the road, beats Mississippi State 28-25. LSU and Coach Ed Orgeron, I mean, they had to have this one because they're going into the gauntlet here of a schedule in the SEC. And, you know, there's already hot seat talk. If you go and lose to the Pirate 2 years in a row, I think Coach O may have been as good as gone. But this was, I know the score may not indicate it, but it was a relatively dominant performance here. And I think the biggest key to me is just, how embarrassing last year was for LSU. It all started with that Mississippi State game. They couldn't do anything to solve it. They just basically took Barry Odom's defensive game plan and applied it to their system, forced Mississippi State to dink and dunk all over the field, and they just got impatient with it. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
I mean, they threw it 60-some-odd times against an LSU team that was just sitting back and letting them dink and dunk, and they just could not get anything going. And on the LSU offensive side, it was a story of big plays, Shane. I mean, Max Johnson had 4 passes for 183 yards, including 3 touchdowns. Now, he had 280 total yards passing in the whole game, but like I said, most of that came on 4 plays. So that's all it really was for LSU, was just less than a handful of big plays, keeping everything in front of you, dinking and dunking. And for whatever reason, Mississippi State will not run the ball. I mean, that's got to be on Mike Leach, because the running game was working and LSU was giving it up to them. They weren't going to let the big play beat them like it did last year. And one other thing I wanted to mention, Cardell Flott, the defensive back for LSU, player of the game in my opinion. He's the one that forced the fumble early on, gave LSU their first touchdown of the game, gave them a lot of momentum. And he also had one hell of an interception also in the first half. But when you make those plays, that really just fueled LSU's defense the entire day. And now Mississippi State and Mike Leach on a 2-game losing streak and really, searching for answers during the start of SEC play is the worst place to have that come. You know what?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Mike. I think this is one of the most frustrating games to me, though. It felt like no team really wanted it. And now I know you could say LSU had their way with this thing, but like you said, if it weren't for 3 or 4 huge mistakes, then it's a tight ball game. Right. And then all of a sudden they're letting Mississippi State get into this thing. I didn't understand the conservative play calling because it was working, but then like you said, the Pirate, he wanted it to move faster. I don't know. It's just frustrating on both sides. It's like, which team's going to grow up this week? One of these teams can make some noise in the SEC, Mike. I truly believe it. They've got the talent. They got the roster for it. But who's it going to be? Is this the LSU that we're going to see a progression each week, or are they just still going to make these same boneheaded mistakes? Because again, they did make some mistakes in this game, and they should at one point put this thing away. It should never have been one of those that came down to an onside kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hell, I mean, Mississippi State's got a hell of a defense, but they're just not getting helped out much by the offense. And
right.
It was kind of like we said going into the game. What offense is going to show up for Mississippi State? It doesn't seem like they come alive till they're down in a hole they can't escape. And it's the same damn story here. I mean, their final 3 possessions here, they scored a touchdown on each one of them. But they were in such a big hole, obviously they came up short. So, again, if Mississippi State were to figure things out in the first half of these ball games, they're probably undefeated right now. But instead, they're sitting here at 2-2, and fans wondering what in the hell's going on there. Is Will Rogers the right guy? Is Mike Leach the right guy? To me, it comes down to consistency, because they're one quarter they're someone, the next quarter they're totally different, and it's just not working at this time. And you just got to hope that if they put all those pieces together, they can make something happen. Whereas on the flip side for LSU, yeah, I know it wasn't pretty, but hell, you got yourself a win here, and now you're on a 3-game winning streak. You're welcoming Auburn. We'll get to them in a moment, but certainly a struggling Auburn coming in at you got them at 8 o'clock Saturday night. I mean, that place is going to be rocking. LSU's got a chance, I think, to build some serious momentum as the schedule keeps getting tougher and tougher for the Tigers.
Mike, let me ask you real quick, because again, I don't want to beat up on LSU, because you're right, they did get the victory, but if this team's going to win some games this week, it feels like they're going to have to get that running game going. I mean, I'm looking at a stat line here, 63 yards rushing, when you had the lead majority of the game.
Right.
Is that alarming to you? Or, I mean, you watched it too. Was it more game flow, do you think? How does LSU fix this? Because I still not seen anybody step up.
It's a huge concern, and that's why they couldn't put Mississippi State away. I mean, at one point, the score was 21-3, I believe. And when it's 21-3 and you hold on to win by 3 points, I mean, that gives you all the indication in the world that you can't close the game out. And it is a huge concern. And I don't know how it can be fixed, because the offensive line is a mix of, mostly veterans, guys that have started for years, have played together for years. And I know they're banged up, and they've been kind of shuffling in and out of the lineup. So the continuity is an issue. They got a new offensive line coach, Brad Davis, who's came in from Arkansas. You got to hope that he can do something. But, they've got some talented backups, but they're all either freshmen or sophomores. So, that's just not a position where here in the middle of the season you can just get a guy ready to go on the offensive line. So it just kind of is what it is. And I think I think you hit it right on the head there. I mean, as long as they cannot run the ball in the SEC, you cannot consistently win. I mean, they have got to get this fixed, and I don't know if they can do it. But against an elite team, that'll come back to bite them. But against Mississippi State, who, I mean, they did stifle them on the ground, but because of all these explosive plays, it didn't matter. And like I said, we'll get to Auburn in a second here, but we saw against Penn State. We're going to see it against Georgia State. They were giving up big plays left and right. So I don't know that it will necessarily kill them next week, but when they get into Alabama and all these teams, it's going to be a huge, huge problem.
Ed, you mentioned just the scheme, that 3-2-6. Where did y'all sort of get the idea, and when did you start implementing that look?
We've been thinking about that since the Sunday after our game last year. And really, we watched Arkansas and what Arkansas had done to them. We really studied Arkansas's film a lot. We made a couple adjustments. Give the credit to our coaching staff. Everybody pitched in. Durante did a great job of implementing. Our guys had a great job in believing in it. It was a little different for us because, when you lead the nation in sacks, it's hard to go a three-man rush, but we had to hard to do it. And but we gave up something. We told them as long as they don't beat the ball deep, we wanted to build a fence and make them throw the ball in front of us. And for the most part, it worked.
But how did those two turnovers kind of set the tone for your defense in the first half? And how did you feel at halftime? You had to be excited at halftime.
Yeah, I was excited. We say, Sheldon, big plays fuel emotion. And, we had to take the crowd out of the game. And we were going to take the football. We were going to take the football and give the ball to the offense, go down there and score. But they decided to take the ball, so they beat us to the punch. But us having those turnovers kind of took the crowd out of the game a little bit, gave our guys some confidence. I felt good going into halftime, but I knew it was going to be a 60-minute game. I knew those guys would adjust to what we were doing, and they came back. Good coaching staff. They had some good players. I wish we would have finished better.
One stat that really stood out to me, total plays, Mississippi State had 88 to 54.
Yeah.
Y'all had 3 touchdowns of over 40 yards in the second half.
Right.
Is that kind of the big play ability with these dynamic wide receivers? Is that the vision you're looking for in this offense?
Yeah.
That kind of just dynamic attack?
Well, hey, we're gonna take the big plays the way we can get them, but knowing that we were gonna make them throw the ball in front of us and not give them big plays, we knew they were gonna have long drives as long as they didn't score. And our defense did get tired. We need to rotate a little bit better. 80-something plays is probably the most plays we played this year or close to it. And we need to get used to that if we're going to play that type of defense against the spread offense.
Coach, last couple of games you guys have been good in terms of yardage, but what is it right now with this offense that you guys are able to put together drives but not necessarily get scores?
I think it's just part of the process. I think that, you start out, can you make plays in practice? Yes. Can you make plays in games? Yes. Can you put them together, with the context that really good teams have? We're battling to get there.
Coach, what is it, or is there anything different about Will in the offense when fourth quarters, Louisiana Tech, Memphis today, that just seem more efficient when they get a little behind and start pushing the pace, make more plays, more connections, pick up the game a little faster?
Well, I agree 100%. I think what happens is they don't overthink plays. I think right now, I think that we have a tendency to overthink plays, and I think we get to that point and then they don't overthink plays. And I can't say that we become more confident, but I think it's a mental deal. I mean, we take comfort knowing that that it can't get any worse, I guess, is how I'd categorize it. And then we let ourselves play. But right now, too many plays, most of the plays that you ask about, we get in our own way. And we just have to, just relax, not overthink plays, and just go play and make it like it is on Tuesday and Wednesday. Some of you may also be forgetting this is LSU, and the entire country recruited every player on their team. So, they have a little something to do with making some of the plays. So.